Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to finish taking out the rest of the brake lines and the fuel lines, so that way we have a clear slate, easy to work off, and be able to transfer stuff over without having anything in the way. Right now we got the front pretty much completely taken out. We're working on the back and should be able to get all that off here soon enough. Alright, so update. Tried taking the fuel lines off. I got the brake lines pretty much completely off, but the fuel lines, I could not get it to come off. I took that bar and I bolted it back there and pulled it down, but there's just by the way it's shaped, because this fuel line is one solid complete metal fuel line from the front to the back. It's not in any piece. There's no segments to separate it to make it easier to pull out. It's one whole piece, one whole metal tube for the fuel line. So being that it bends over the axle, there's no real way to try to like angle it to kind of pull it out. So the only real way to get it out would be to take out the rear axle, so that we can clear it and be able to take it out, which I wanted to wait to take out the rear axle until later on, but this is fine. I'll just do it now, move it out of the way, and be able to take everything out, so that way I can, at least this way I'll have everything out already. I just have to find somewhere to put the rear axle so it's out of the way. So we're going to do that right now. Pull out the rear axle, pull out the rest of the lines, and that should really be about it. There's not much else really in the car left to take out. So let's get at it. Alright, the rear end's out. I was able to finally take out those exhaust pipes. I moved them over there. Took out the fuel line, took out the brake lines. Everything is pretty much completely taken out. There's pretty much nothing left on here now. The only thing I left were the shocks, because I'm keeping those. Also with the struts in the front. Looking down here, I still have this fuel line here. I haven't got a chance to pull it out. But and look at this long ass fuel line. I have no idea where I'm gonna store this, but it's out. Everything is out. Now it's time to start tearing apart the donor and putting stuff in this. Hey guys, welcome back. Alright, so it is a few days later. Took a small break to work on this, but in the time being I did a couple things to this. So a few of the things I've done is I removed this front bar, this front sway bar, that was on there. It was actually, I didn't even really realize it. The bar was just being held up by bungee cords because it got completely ripped off. It got completely ripped off of the support. You can see right there, one of the bolts is still on it, but that's bent downwards. The one above it's gone. And I think on the opposite side, they're both gone. So it was actually completely ripped off. And that's why they gave me a brand new front support. Is that way I can have something to bolt that sway bar up to. So that was completely broken off on there. So I got that taken off out of the way. One of the other things I've been working on, I kind of just finished this up earlier. So I started taking this apart. So I got the front driver's side steering knuckle and wheel bearing out, or wheel hub I should say. I took quite a bit of elbow grease, a lot of rust buster. This thing was very heavily caked with rust. It's not really too bad. It just took a little bit to take it off. So I got that off, unbolted it from the shock and from the steering rack. So I was able to get this off completely. Same time, also took off the brakes. Those are back there. I'm using quite a bit of brake clean to try to clean those up. I might have to just get a Dremel with the wire brush on it and try to get some of that rust that's built up on top of it off before I put them on. You can get it off by putting them on the car and just applying the brakes while normally driving to get some of that off. But being that I don't really have a way to do that, and I wouldn't really trust it, I'd much rather get the rust off first as much as possible before taking it on the road, because definitely don't want to go down the road without brakes. That would be real sketchy. Other than that, I started taking most of the other stuff apart here, starting to get the brake lines off, and starting to work on trying to get some of the wiring out on the inside of the car. So in here, I took the seats out, back seats are out, a lot of the trim's taken out. I took out the headrest up above, which was actually kind of difficult. There isn't really much way to take that out without taking out the center console. You don't really have a lot of room. I didn't want to have to break it either, so I took out the center console so I can get the headrests out from on top, pull that out. I actually got that over here on it right now. Oh, I have this one on camera. I have it over here right now. I put it on just so it can be out of the way, because it's kind of big and bulky and really difficult to really put somewhere where it won't be getting in the way of other stuff. In here, we have the back seats kind of laid out, ready to put in whenever I start putting the wiring down, and the center console right over there. Coming back over here, I took the airbag out just because, I mean, the airbag is already blown, so I can get in here. Started taking stuff out. Took out the passenger airbag, that's over here actually, and along with the glove box compartment. I got most of all this stuff in the back out. Took the rearview mirror out. That actually broke off, so I gotta find out where the little metal piece that goes on there went. It kind of just flew out the window, and that's somewhere in the garage. I'll probably find it sometime later. But that's pretty much most of the progress I have right now. Most of that's already completely taken out. I might do the doors next, so I can start taking that stuff out. I'm trying to get as much off as I can while still being able to start the car. Because once I start taking apart most of the dash and stuff like that, you won't be able to start it. I want to make sure I get as much off first, so that way, you know, if I want to do some electrical work, see if something works, especially with the taillights, still trying to figure out how to make the taillights work. I want to be able to have a way to turn it on and be able to make that work. So I'm trying to do as much as I can with the trim and stuff like that before I take the dashboard out. I want to try to get the fuel lines and brake lines, all of those pulled out before I take most of the other stuff out, so that way I can put those all on. Same with the fuel tank, stuff like that, so that all of this can go on, and it'll go on easier, because I won't have to route fuel lines or brake lines or any electrical wires underneath it. So if I can do that first, it'll make the swap a little bit easier. Conserve a little bit more space. I wouldn't say I'm limited on space, but I want to definitely try to leave enough room available for me to kind of like move around and not be obstructed, because the engine transmission's over there, and it is kind of bulky. It's not super in the way, but it'd be preferable to have a little bit more room to kind of like work with, especially whenever I'm going to pull this engine out. I want to be able to kind of like maneuver it around without having anything really blocking me. Aside from that, on the outside, most of the work I've been doing on the outside is kind of just like with the suspension and the support, stuff like that. Loosening all the bolts, especially because most of these are kind of a little rusty in there. So when I get in there early and try to break those bolts off, so that way I can take all of the stuff off as easily as possible. That way I can spend less time later on whenever I'm trying to pull it, trying to unbolt other stuff. Took all the wheels off, so all the wheels are over here. Just kind of have them out of the way, so I have a little bit more room to work with. Just try to really manage where all this stuff is. Quite a lot of stuff in the way, so as much room as I can make by stacking stuff on top of each other. That's definitely what I'm trying to do to make more stuff work. Back here, I actually got these tail lights for a 13 off a junkyard. Got them for really cheap, actually. Just wanted to see if I can make the lights work, and then kind of help me with the wiring for the stock ones of mine. See if there's any way to kind of like wire them up with the older ones. So these are kind of like my indications that the lights are working, and then matching it up with the other wiring when I'm splicing it together, see if it works. The closest I got on this so far is the brake lights, or the lights turn on whenever each of the lights are on. The brake lights turn on when you push on the brake. Reverse lights work. The only thing that doesn't work are the blinkers. There's no sequentials. The sequentials won't work, but they do blink. The only problem is they hyperblink. So I'm trying to figure out if there's any way around making the sequentials work with the older style. It'll make it so much easier to try to retrofit it to this. Otherwise, I have to try to find a way. I have them over here, actually. Otherwise, I'm going to have to find a way to make these work. So I was able to find some, I think these are 2011s, the taillight harness from someone locally for not too expensive. So I got these, and the outer ones, so this is the outer, this is the middle, and this is the inner bulb, which is the one that will be right around here. The only issue with trying to make these bulbs fit in the housing of the older one is this inner bulb is too thick, or as in it goes in, it's too wide, whereas these lay down flat. This one sticks, the connector sticks straight out, and it's too wide. Like just even this portion right here where these fins are, I'm assuming these are the cooling fins, these go way too far back. They contact on the body right here, which you could easily make the modification. You could either try to dent this inward to try to make it so it clearances, or just cut a hole. Either way would really work. The only issue is I want to try to see if I can make it work without having to do that. Just trying to look at what options I have, or if anyone has done anything similar, kind of like retrofitted lights, or kind of was able to splice the harness from that to this older body style. Just let me know what you guys did and what worked for you. Otherwise, that kind of will probably end up being something later on. Alright, aside from that, so some of the extra parts that I got when I got the car. So obviously, the K member, front lower control arms, a new steering rack, because the one on this one was cracked and it's completely pushed out to the side. The front, front support for the radiator, along with the connecting crossbar in between. But some other parts I also bought from that same junkyard, actually, is I got the battery tray, which, oops, that's stuck. I got the battery tray, which it didn't come with it for some reason. It just didn't have the battery tray, so I needed the battery tray, so I was able to get one. And this actually came off also the 13. One of the things I had to do is I had to match the part number for the 13 to the part number for the 2011. I want to make sure all the body parts fit, or the parts that I got for it fit. So I had to compare the part number for 13 to an 11, And most of the parts actually do transfer over, they will fit. So I was able to get this battery tray off the 13, along with this bar support for the ECM, and also the other side support for the battery box. Got that. And what was this? That just fell. Okay. This is the support for the fuse box, along with the upper and lower portions of the fuse box, because the ones on mine are broken, but the centerpiece is good, so I just needed this cover and the bottom support piece. I got the radiator upper brackets. I even got this little intake tube cover that goes to the intake box. I can't really put this on right now. I have this backwards, I think. Actually, I don't remember which way. So this will just slide on right there, just like that. I can't really do it right now because the ABS unit is kind of pushed back. And so this ABS unit did get pushed back. As far as I can tell, there was only one brake line that was broken. And that was the one that leads from the ABS unit to the brake booster. So you can kind of see there. Kind of not really. So it's underneath there. Somewhere. Try not to fall. I can't really see it right now, but under there, one of the brake lines comes from this is broken. So what I end up having to do is same thing with all the other parts. I just matched it to the 2013 and try to see if the parts will still fit and then transfer over. So I got these fuel lines over here actually. So these two actually are off the 13. They're their exact same. Don't drop them. They're the exact same part number, so they will fit on the 2011. So that's good. So yeah, aside from that, not much else really going on. Just trying to start swapping parts over and really going from there. Also just starting to try to make more room, try to be able to fit more stuff in the garage. So yeah, once I have the brake lines and the fuel lines and the electrical harness all pulled out, and rather than on mine, I'll probably start doing a little bit more in-depth on what it is you're gonna really have to do to start pulling this engine out and transferring it over, stuff like that. For now, kind of just working on that. Not really gonna record most of that. Most of that is kind of self-explanatory. You can really find online, or if you can't really find any videos on it online, I'll probably make a quick video on how to do that. But most of the stuff I do with these cars, there is a website that actually has the workshop manuals for these exact cars that you can use to do anything you need to do on your car. Say you need to pull the engine, it tells you exactly when you need to unplug and what you need to disconnect to pull the engine. Or you want to pull the rear axle, tells you what to do. Say you even need to take the fuel tank out. It's not very descriptive of what you need to do, but it does tell you what bolts and stuff you need to take out. After that, you kind of just have to figure it out on your own. When I pulled this one, I just kind of really had to tug on it until it came off. Otherwise, you're kind of just wondering, this fuel tank's not coming off. I've undid all the bolts and it should come off. It's real snug up into the body, and you kind of just have to pry it a little so that it pops off and you can take the fuel tank out. Other than that, most of the stuff's not too difficult. It's just really about taking the time to get in there and take it apart, and also depending on the condition of the vehicle, how long it takes is based on how rusty it is. So if there's quite a bit of rust, it's definitely going to take a little bit longer than expected. So can of rust blaster here will be a huge lifesaver. Any kind of penetrating fluid, rust blaster, anything like that will definitely help a lot. It's still gonna take a lot longer than it would if it wasn't rusty, but it'll definitely help make it a little bit easier so that way you can take stuff off, especially rusty old bolts. Those are the worst. Alright guys, so that was a quick update on the status of Coyote swap. Just taking the donor apart and swapping the parts into mine. A few side projects going on, just stuff I want to try to make work for this car, and a few other things I want to try to get done on this that kind of like pull me away from this every now and then, but the main focus is still trying to get the main Coyote swap done. But I do have other things I plan on doing to this car after the fact, once the Coyote swap is done. But those for a later video, once I kind of like get into it a little bit more, or I do finish that side project, I'll let you guys know what I'm working on. But for now, just still working on trying to get most stuff out and start swapping parts out that are broken, finding out parts that are broken as I start taking stuff apart. So that's always fun. So for now, as I get closer and closer to taking all that stuff off and transferring it over, I'll let you guys know what the progress is. Until then, I'll catch you guys later.